Okay, folks, we're back once again. Back in the new world. Survive the old world. Back in the new world. Survive the old world, man. Sounds like everything went to shit. Really had no problems, really, other than anything else. Other than everybody in the entire old world was sick. And, I stayed strong for about 10 days, and eventually I ended up succumbing to the hacking, the coughing, the nose blowing, all that kind of stuff ever since 4 days in London and 6 days in Spain. And it was like, yeah, that was it. That's about all I could handle. So if I am coughing, I actually feel okay. My wife is very much under the weather. She got a combination of everything, plus I ended up giving her to her. And so I ended up getting sick before the other two. But anyhow, we're back. And what an interesting experience. What an interesting experience. This is the only time I've went to other countries and didn't feel like I was super excited about coming back. I guess that's a good thing. So let's put these things away, and then we can move forward with something else. Lankashnek. We had a great time. We had a great time, and I don't have much bad things to say about the places that we went to. I'm so far behind on videos. Because I filmed a fair amount. So much that when we were in the first day we were in Madrid, we took a tuk-tuk tour. And a tuk-tuk is just a fancy name for a moped. It's like a moped front. And there's a cabin in the back that holds up to 4 people. And we all went around the city, and I filmed the whole damn thing. Not professionally, but I'm like, part of it is just to, heck, I'm there. I might as well do it. And the other part is like, if my mom or something wants to see it, it's just easier to show her the video, but, so we did that. And, several of the places I went to, I did videos, and it's like for instance, that tour video was like, I didn't film everything, and it was still almost 4 hours long. My wife wants me to take her to France. Well, I can't speak about France. I honestly don't know. All we did was go to London. We didn't even go to Britain. We went to London for, I call it 2 days. We arrived at like 7:30 in the morning one day. We're there all day that day, spent the night, all day the next day. And the next day we had to leave. So we really didn't do anything on that day. But that was just 2 days in London. I knew we wouldn't be able to knock everything out in London. It was like, hey, we needed to fly in through London, so you might as well see something. And then we drove all around Spain. We spent a couple days in Madrid and then drove, I don't even know how many kilometers we drove. We drove a lot. So, went to Gibraltar. And, I was surprised. What's up, Francois? The first thing that surprised me about all the places that I went to, and I didn't write all this down officially, so I probably left something off, and I'll probably come back. You want to visit Spain since you're learning Spanish? Yeah, I felt really at home there. I mean, it was, well, first of all, I didn't drive in Britain, and I'm never going to drive in Britain ever. Never, ever, never, ever, ever. I'm not driving in a country where they're obstinate and drive on the opposite side of the road. I'm just not going to do it. That's really the only thing I can say bad about Britain. Was that, all right, well, you're not driving and you're walking everywhere, which we walked a lot, which is good because we all need to do that, including you guys that are watching. You know it. And You go to cross the road as a pedestrian, and you're like looking, you're naturally looking the wrong way. It's like you're like drunk all the time. Like, you feel like, am I looking the correct way? Just something so simple ends up being, super complicated. Yeah, I'm not doing that. And then when we get to Spain, even though the driving's on the correct side, there are so many signs that is one after the other. Like if you've got if you're on like their interstate, and they'll be like the speed will be 120. I don't have a problem with kilometers. Actually, in a way, it's almost better. But anyways, you'll be at 120, and then you'll have this off ramp, and on the off ramp you'll see that it says 100, 80, 60, 40, and they're all like one right after the other, maybe 30 feet apart from each other. So when you see the first one, you see them all. And it's just like, man, there's just so much noise from so many signs. But the driving really wasn't the issue. The parking is. We are so. I don't know if we're so spoiled. I'm going to say, I'm used to how things are here. And the parking in Britain and Spain was insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, you must not give a shit about your vehicles at all. Because, they're literally cars on top of each other parking. Just crazy, crazy, crazy. They didn't necessarily drive crazy. They just, they were right on top of each other. Dude, you're getting robbed by Africans on vacation? It's going to be in Jamaica, not France. It's going to be fun to ride the bullet train from Paris to Barcelona. Well, we did take some train. We did take a train when we were on our way back from Sevilla to Madrid. And it went up to 100, I had it on Waze, because we have all this technology now. It's like, let's see how fast the train's going. It's going 149. It wasn't a bullet train, but it was still going 149 miles an hour into a tunnel, down at an angle. I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool. That's really pretty. Where is did I not bring my phone? How ridiculous. Hold on one second. Okay. And I don't know if I'm going to need this, but I figured it was here. So, yeah, I can't comment on France. Um, I can tell you that when I was in Britain and when I was in Spain, I didn't feel like I was in a different country. I was, but I didn't feel like out of place. The only thing that made me feel out of place in those two places is, and this was in London, and this was particularly in Madrid, is it is really weird as somebody that's from the South. It is really weird to make eye contact with somebody or encounter somebody on the sidewalk, and they look at you and they don't say anything to the other person. I went into a couple stores. I went one game store in particular. Maybe it was just like an extreme nerd burglar, but I went into this one game store in Madrid, and I walk in and I said, good morning, and the guy looked at me like with a face of like, how fucking dare you? And I'm like, it's just freaking weird, man. It's just weird that people are that standoffish. I expect, some people in New York City to be that way, but everybody, I'm like, um, tell her if I'm paying European, if I'm going somewhere sanitary, so France is out of the question. There's parts of Spain that didn't look like they were very clean, but I'll tell you what, having been to Mexico, there's zero comparison. Zero. You could drink the tap water there. Really had no issues at all. It was just a matter of, in a big city. I don't live in a big city. Now, we did go to one place in our travels that was an old Roman city. We were passing from point A to point B, and anywhere we were going, I was like, hey, well, let's see what's on the way. Like, hey, there's a castle up there. Let's drive up and see what's there. And we went to this town that's called Merida, like the one that's in Mexico, in the Yucatan. But the Spanish Merida is an old Roman city. And, hey, Greg, I'm not driving in Australia. So we go to Merida, and there's a couple of Roman ruins in there. So I'm like, well, let's stop by, right? When are you going to go by in North America and see any Roman ruins? like never, right? And we get in this town, in these streets that are so tiny that you're like, am I even supposed to be here? And it's like, we made two attempts to go in there, and eventually, we had to basically tell somebody, like, how do we get out of here? And it was like the streets were actually in good shape. They were just super, super, super narrow. And I'm like, okay, well, enough of that. But they basically had these ruins. I mean, pretty good shape because I looked at them on the internet. This amphitheater from Roman times, and but they just built a city all the way up against it. You'd only go to Normandy if you had scuba gear and a waterproof metal detector. Waterproof metal detector. I don't know. You might set something off. You know. Well, so yeah, the only thing, the exchange rate wasn't an issue. We paid everything with a phone, so you could just you just pay in the coinage of the mother country. But other than the driving in the opposite direction, London was cool. Everything was London was pretty cool, and Spain really was fine. Other than like everybody was sick. Everybody had some kind of a cold or something, and there was a lot of tourists. And if you wanted to go to the Far East, and you didn't want to see a lot of people in the Far East, this would have been the week to do it. Because there was all kinds of people. There was a high percentage of people from the Far East in Spain. You're like, what's going on here? Maybe they're traveling for Chinese New Year or something. I don't know what part of the Far East they were from, but it was like, holy shit. And I don't have a problem with it, but they come from a place where they're super pushy. They're like constantly pushing you all the time. And I'm like, I'm from the South. Like, you don't get in people's business. You know what I'm saying? So, that and just some people just being like rude. Like, you talk to them and like don't say anything back to you. Like, I'm just not that way. Maybe they were upset that I was on vacation and they weren't. I'll be rude tomorrow just to balance everything out in the world, Tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Yeah, I won't be taking a vacation for a while. We burned all those days off. But yeah, no, everything went really well. Other than just really the only thing that happened was just getting sick. It was going to happen eventually. So many people coughing and hacking it. We were taking vitamin C's all the time. Like those things that we travel with that just like 5,000% vitamin C, but eventually they get you. There's enough people blowing and hacking and coughing, and had one guy on a plane that was making all kinds of unusual sounds. Like, the hell's wrong with you, man? So. But anyhow, so we got some goodies. Some goodies appeared while I was gone. And I haven't even opened them yet. And I may make a video on them, but it's not likely that I will because, like I said, I'm so backed up on videos. I literally just finished editing the tuk-tuk video, which is like almost 4 hours long. And, which means you got to watch the whole damn thing again. And it was difficult to do that. I haven't even uploaded that one, and I got like 4 more after that. None of them are as long as that one, but my favorite place that I went to, of all the places that I went to, me personally, was El Escorial. And it's just incredible stuff. I love that period of Spanish history, and there's all kinds of stuff that is there that is nowhere else. And there's one room, for instance, that had a bunch of battle paintings, and they're battle paintings I've never seen, and they're all mid 1500s to 1600 time battle paintings. And the problem I've never seen them is there's a little plaque on each one what the battle actually represents. So it'll say battle of whatever, and it's who the painter was, and it's all uncredited anonymous painters. So you can't go and find if it was somebody well known, you could just pull up their things, and online you could see all their paintings, and they're not there. and that's going to take me a while to put it on a video, but I am going to do that. Really for myself more than anything else. Um, and let's see if I can pull one of these up here, and I'll show you what I've got. Yeah, so there's like this painting right here. I don't know how this is going to come out on a computer. Now let's see if I can zoom into a portion of it and see if it comes out. Yeah, it comes out pretty well. There's a portion of it. And on the bottom of it, there'd be a little plaque here at the bottom. So I went ahead and took a picture of the plaque as well. So you can see this is The Siege of Cambrai, painted in the 17th century, and the name of the author is an anonymous flamenco person. So they don't even know who painted this. So, and like this, there's like 15 other paintings of different battle scenes. I mean, and they're really well done. And they're done in the period that they happened in. So it's not like this was painted in the 1900s and it's something about what was happened in the 1500s. You know, it was like done in the time period that it happened in. Because that's one thing that's really important. Like we went and saw a lot of churches, a lot of churches, and even when I was doing research for like DBA armies and stuff like Alexander the Great and things like that, one of the things you start noticing in is coming from a World War II background, my big gripe was, man, I wish there was any information that was available. I wish there was any color pictures of Panzer IV or whatever, just to see that the colors are right. And then you just get to the point, you start doing ancient stuff. Like, man, I wish there was anything available about this civilization at all. There's a lot of cultures that there's nothing known about them, or it's written from only one viewpoint, so you can't cross-reference to see if there's any, anybody's playing games with manipulating the truth or, that kind of stuff. So, and then there's just some stuff that just very little is written about it. So when you go into and do stuff about like Alexander the Great and things like that, don't be like a lot of like things that are painted in churches and things like that are out of period. For example, a lot of the churches and we went to see a lot of churches, and a lot of the artwork is really impressive. But you'll have artwork that's done in the 1500s about Bible stories. So you have a Bible story that may be about, Jesus asked to carry the cross with Roman soldiers watching, right? But it's painted in the 1500s. And in the 1500s, they didn't really have a good idea of what Romans were wearing. So you're looking at this historical painting that has, I forget, that's... so I'm going to call it incongruencies. There's actually a name for it. I can't think of it right now because it's not a terminology I use a lot. But you can't really go with what it looks like. Like, well, what's in the painting? Well, the painting was done, 1,500 years after it happened, and it was done before a lot of excavations and things were done. So you can, and a lot of that happens with Alexander the Great, Roman times, stuff like that. You could pull up like a book from Osprey or whatever on the Roman army or something like that. And there'll be all these paintings that are done in the 1300s about stuff that happened 1,000 years before. And it's like you can't trust them because it's like, might as well not even be giving you a painting. That's one of those things that I kind of had to learn as I was trying to do research for some of these ancient armies, was that there was a lot of things that I was getting that I was getting a lot of like, trying to get the right information, you weren't getting it from the sources. So that happens with a lot of the stuff that's in those churches. So, but anyhow, okay, so, let's move these guys off the side. So before I left on my trip, I actually got this that I ordered. Okay, and this is from the Smell Like Britain. It should. This is one of the supposed most well-renowned people about paint schemes. This guy named Mike Starmer, and he's in. I know it's Northampton. Here it says Northampton, but he is one of these guys that has done a lot of research on counter paint schemes and things like that. Ooh, that's probably not the way to open it. I would open it this way, but I guess I'm gonna have to. I don't want to risk cutting this open. And the other thing is, I went to a couple of stores. There's all kinds of military books on the history of Spain that are just not available in English. Like really detailed stuff. And I made a note of it. I'm not painting that stuff right now. I wasn't going to the last thing I needed to bring was books. They're heavy and they weren't that big of a savings on there. But we'll take a look at this and then we'll look at the stuff that I picked up while I was out there. Okay, good. I don't want to cut this up. So anyways, this Mike Starmer is, you got to order these things through the internet. He has a website, but it's kind of odd. But I've been corresponding with him for a couple of weeks before my trip. And I figured, well, if we get these, they'll be here when I get back. So I picked up 2 books from him. And they are British Military Camouflage in Colors, The Counter Scheme, and Alamein and After, 42-43. Okay, Greg, check this out later because this will be something that interests you. So, you can't get PDFs of these. You have to literally get actual copies of this stuff. And he's got a lot of this stuff. I've been going back and forth with him on a lot of these things. And camouflages of vehicles, and one of the things that's really unique to the counter scheme is each vehicle supposedly had a paint scheme that was done for it. Similar to the way the U.S. Navy destroyers did in the end of the Second World War, that if something was carrying a measure 32A, all ships that were painted in measure 32A were painted the same. Didn't matter whether it was one destroyer or a different destroyer. If it was painted in a certain scheme, it was painted exactly the same way. And I didn't know that was the case with these things. I didn't know that was the case with this 2 years ago. I've painted stuff and looked at drawings and stuff of them online, and but I ended up getting both of these books because I don't want to get started on the wrong foot. Okay, so here's one for a lorry, motorcycles, light tanks, and this tells you which one of the colors they had here. Here's the cruiser tanks, the guns. This looks like a Marvin Harrington Mark III, which I have one. We'll see how close I got. And I know there's going to be some variations in them, because they're hand painted. They're not done in the factory. Did I visit any Civil War battlefields? I did not. No, there was hardly any time to do. I didn't visit any battlefields at all. I'm not really into this. Well, we did a tour of Madrid and we went to one place that supposedly there was a fight there, but it's not really my area. So, we did go to. We spent 4 days in Madrid, which way I went to 3 different stores on foot. That was super cool about just walking somewhere. Just girls wanted to take a nap. I went on foot to go check something out. We went to. We did the tour of the whole city. We went to Bravo, which I couldn't do a video there because you can't film there at all. You're not supposed to film there at all, so I didn't. What else did we do? We drank a lot of Spanish beer. Not a lot, but I mean, like, every meal I had, like, a Spanish beer. I tried, like, 7 or 8 different ones, and they were all great. We went to El Escorial, We went to Segovia and the castle. I got a video of walking around the big Alcázar there. That they say that's supposedly one of the castles that's inspired by the Sleeping Beauty castle, not the Sleeping Beauty castle, the Cinderella castle. I don't know. It's a friggin' amazing place. Where else did we go? We went through Avila. We went to Salamanca. We went to Gibraltar. I have a video of we went around. We had a really good tour guide at Gibraltar, so that video will be coming out at some point. We gotta watch all of it again. It's like, okay, well, I got other things I gotta do other than that. So it may take a while getting some of those things out. Where else did we go? We went through a hobby store outside of Malaga. I went to we did Granada, we did Cordoba, we did Sevilla, and plus the 3 days in London. So yeah, I mean we were gone basically from the 14th until today, but it's 2 days traveling out and 2 days traveling back. So it's a lot of days, but you burn 4 of them just traveling. So, but anyways, this is one of these variations here. He's got some paint chips in here somewhere as well. Not that I need them because I've got all the notes. I figured there's no point in getting this after the 2 colored patterns on Stewart's and Matilda's. Yep, here's little color swatches, which should match the stuff that I have. And it looks like it does. There's no blue here. Notice there's no blue. This is the color they claim to be blue, but it's silver gray. Tells you how to mix it with Cumbrol. Yeah, well, we're not going to be using Cumbrol. And Dalamain and After, which should have Tunisia in there as well. Looks like there's some correction stuff. Stuff I want to look through here. It looks like it's really light reading. You got the splotchy camouflage schemes here. There's a Grant, Crusader, Honey, Sherman's, a later Matilda, another Valentine. Anyways, this guy's supposedly like the expert of expert when it comes to these colors here. Desert Pink. Hey, it looks a lot like this color. And it looks a lot like this color too. Anyhow. This is something that that came in while I was gone. Curious to see the Valentine that's here, because this was a scheme that I did off of just winging it. Anyhow, we'll take a look at that later. I won't be repainting that. It's the only one that I got in that color. Anyway, so that came in while I was gone. All right. The other stuff that I got in. And that's some of this stuff is... And then the reason why I got them. In Madrid... I don't know that it was that big of a savings, but they had a lot of places had a lot of 1/35 scale stuff, which is useless to me. But the thing about the stuff that I picked up, there's like no tax on it. There's like, the price you paid is what you got it for. So that was kind of unique. Now these 2 infantry sets, one for the African Corps and one for the 8th Army. This is the old Eschi set. And the cool thing about this is that I mean, this would have cost double if I ordered it on eBay. Is that it actually gives you a guy, actually several of them, two to be precise, with bagpipes. So I've been wanting to paint a guy with a bagpipe just to make it, just to make life annoying for everybody on there except him. He'd be able to be okay with it, but he'd drive everybody else crazy. But I mean, these are, I have a fair amount of desert rack guys, but like I didn't have a bagpiper. Didn't have many guys with Tommy guns for the NCOs, so now we have quite a few. So I mean, even if you don't want to use repeats, which I don't necessarily have a problem with using repeats, you still got 1, 2, 3 unique figures with Tommy guns. And if you don't mind using repeats, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and got plenty of guys with Tommy guns. So a couple Bren gun guys here, so they give you 5 of those. And I think some of these guys sitting down also have a Bren. Yeah, there's guys putting a magazine in the Bren. These are the old Eschi figures, and they don't look bad. Sometimes the Eschi figures are kind of awkward looking in these weird ass poses. And it's funny, these were sealed shut. I couldn't look inside of them, so I went to Plastic Soldier Review, and of course there you can tell exactly what's in the set. So I got these to supplement the 8th Army, because at some point I got to finish rounding up some of the stuff that I have, and then we'll go back and paint some figures, because the ones that have turned out okay, the ones that I've turned out for the desert, I've been really happy with. And then the Africa Corps set is not an old Eschi set. It is literally one that was made specifically for Italy. And the poses that are included are there. And lots of NCOs there. Just in this set right here, you got an NCO, another one guy with a mortar. I don't know how useful that is, but hey, that's what he came with. A couple guys MG42s, one guy action shooting it, This is the sprue just like that one. And this is the sprue just like that one. Okay, so it's 3 sprues that have exactly the same stuff on them. Okay, well, it gives me 6 extra guys with MGs, which look to be pretty well sculpted. Hardly any flash on here at all. And then NCO. One of the complaints that they had about this figure set is, it doesn't give you enough guys with it gives you too many guys with MP40s. I said, well, I got lots of guys with rifles, so I actually need some guys with MP40s. Only 2 in each squad, but I was like really low on them. Actually, I don't think I even had one. So that was that. This was in a hobby store in Madrid. Then I walked in. They had that there. I think they were €10 each or something like that. Euro and $1 is about the same thing. So I went to a couple other stores. There was one store in Madrid that had an incredible amount of books, just insane amount of stuff that I didn't even know that existed. And since it's not really a period that I'm doing, I was able to have the fortitude to not do anything with it, because it was like, okay, well, I won't be doing this stuff anytime soon. So I did make notes of a couple of the publishers. I can order it, and it cost me, I don't know, maybe 25% more, and then $10 extra shipping. So it's worth it for me not to pre-buy that stuff, And it's all in Spanish, which actually probably would do me some good. Especially with all the tools we have now translating I can read Spanish. It's just a technical technical language or something like that with it. Technical stuff is just not not my forte. Then I went to Gibraltar. There was a little store in Gibraltar that, again, had a lot of 1/35th scale stuff, and they did have some 1/72nd scale things. And here's kind of an interesting thing that happened. They had several things from this company called Armor Fast that's out of business. And even though I have an M10 that I 3D printed because I couldn't find these, they had a set for £9.45. So this is about, say, $12, maybe closer to $11. Okay, and you get two M10s in here. Now, the problem with the Armor Fast M10s is that you get two of the vehicles, but if you flip to the back, you can see the instructions that were on there. Well, there's a critical thing that's missing on there. And what's critically missing on there is that this is a vehicle, the M10 Tank Destroyer, that is open-topped. And it is significantly open-topped, meaning a good portion of the turret is open to the elements. And one of the things that's distinctive about it is that the gun breech, i.e. the part of the gun the part of the cannon at the back where you load the shell in and discharge the other one, is visible from the top, okay? Because it's a really large opening. And these vehicles didn't include that. This Armor Fast did not include that breech on there. And you can see it's not included. So I had heard rumors that they were retrofitting these. They had re-released them again with the breech block part in. And to make sure that, I think that the part number was like 99004A. Okay, it was a modified version of this with the breech in it. But to be careful to buy it, you didn't want to buy one that didn't have a breech on there, because this would mean that it was one of the older versions that hadn't been retrofitted yet. So I go to this store and they've got these M10s and they don't have any gun breeches, and I'm like, oh fuck it, it's $11 fucking dollars. I mean, I'm getting two M10s for $11 freaking dollars. These are out of print. They're not going to be available again. I looked at them up on eBay. There's some clown trying to sell these for $27. I mean, I think plus shipping. So that's a bit ridiculous. And they're a little simplistic. I mean, they're not too simplistic, but they're on the simplistic side. And I'm like, I don't know if I could, I don't know if I could do that, because I already have an M10 that I haven't put together because it's a 3D printed from, and it looks really nice. Show it to you here. And it's a nice 3D printed M10. But I'm like, when am I going to get a chance to buy these? Two of them for $11. So I'm like, I just deal with them not having, maybe I can come in and I could take something and maybe mold this piece and add it on there. So I take this thing apart, and I've actually repackaged this in a plastic bag. But I repackaged this and it was loose. And not only was this sprue loose, along with this sprue being loose, there was loose parts in here. So this is what came in here. This is one sprue of the M10s. You've got the running gear, the basic hull, the bottom of the turret, the top of the turret. You can see it's a huge opening. But even though it's a basic kit, it comes with a 30 cal and a 50 to put in here. It's got spots for both of them. A couple jerry cans, what have you. The counterweights on the back of the turrets. Pretty nice. No gun breech. Loose in the package. And I mean loose in the package, like this package wasn't even sealed. Like it could have fallen out of the package. Are the two gun breeches. Well, they were both here. What, I'd lose one? It might be somewhere else. If not, I'll cast another one of these. I thought I had both of them. Anyways, here's the gun breech piece. because this part sticks out in the middle of the turret. It's in the box somewhere. Maybe it did lose one of them. No, here it is. It got caught. It got caught in here. Yeah, these two pieces were just kind of floating around loose in the box. So I was told that it would be modified here somewhere. It would tell you that there would be a new drawing for it. But here they are. Here's the two gun breeches. I'm probably going to make a mold of one of them. So if I encounter any more, could get 3D prints. Well, sure, I could get the whole thing 3D printed. I mean, this is 3D printed, and for not much more than the cost of one of these. Okay, I could get one of these 3D printed, but I'm like, when in Rome. So there you go. So that was, and they had stuff like, they also had a couple of T30. They had a couple of SU-100s. Well, I have a couple of SU-100s already painted, and they're die cast. I don't need two more SU-100s. And they had a couple of T-34s, model 1941s. Well, I've got like 8 model 1941s, and they're 76 scale. So if I start throwing 1/72 ones out there, that's gonna, So I would have bought more stuff from ArmorFast if it would have had it there. But anyways, you can't beat that for that price. £11, $11 US, no tax. So $5.50 for each one of these, and they're not available anymore. So. And the last place I went to was the store they told me about that was outside of Malaga. And again, they had a ton of 1/35 scale stuff there. And some 1/72 things. And I've never bought anything by Caesar Miniatures. And got some other Africa Corps guys. There's nothing on the back here at all. There's like literally, doesn't tell you anything about it. If you don't have Plastic Soldier Review, you'd be up a creek. And this was just shy of €10. And this is how they came, in a little plastic baggie. And just sort of some variations in figures. So I looked at them on Plastic Soldier Review, looked pretty decent. Should be a nice mix of figures between all these items. So I got a lot more Desert Rats than I do Africa Corps guys that were useful. So the fact that I got 2 packs of Africa Corps and only 1 Desert Rats, I think balances everything out to make both sides pretty interesting. So, that's all I ended up purchasing. And then I had kind of a surprise thing that happened to me. I had this guy that I've been corresponding with for the last couple of years. I don't think he subscribes to my channel, but he's a 20mm gamer. And I've seen him post things on Facebook before, and he does World War II, and he does 20mm stuff as well. He said he wanted to meet me, and on the next to last day that I was in Sevilla, he actually came up with his wife, and my wife and I we spent, I guess, 3 hours probably talking to him. We probably would have spent longer if he didn't have somewhere to be, but he ended up coming by, and I got to meet him, and we got to talk shop and stuff like that. And he ended up bringing me some stuff, which I had no idea. I didn't realize he actually 3D printed. So I don't know how these made it in travel. I hope they made it okay. If not, I should be okay. But I had no idea about this. But he does some 3D printing stuff, and well, I'll just let this speak for it. And there's a lot of stuff in here. Let's see. Let me put on my super readers here. Yeah, this is them. Okay. This is them, but they won't stay on my nose. Okay, I think that'll work. Okay, so first up in here, there are a ton of pack 36s. All 3D printed. I think there's like 9. There's 9 or 10 of them. There's enough here that I feel pretty comfortable about putting a couple of them in half tracks and making SDKFZ 1/10s. But there's a ton of those in there. All this is all 1/72nd scale. It's 1/72nd scale-ish. Let's put it that way. And here's a little ammo things for him. He said he printed all these things out. I figured he probably had extras. Here's all the gun crews for him. Gun crews for the Pack 36s, which is interesting because the Pack 36s that I have actually have Africa Corps guys with them. So I don't have any Pack 36s that have gun crews that are for Europe. So nice looking figures. We got some motorcycles with sidecars here. I believe these are the guys that are those heroics looking guys. I can't remember what the name of the manufacturer is, but I recognize them. They look pretty cool. Motorcycles with sidecars. For not for North Africa, which is good because the ones I have are only for North Africa. That comes in handy. A couple of these, which are KFZ 13s, they're little Adler armored cars that have an MG. I don't know if it's an MG 34 or not. There's a single MG in them. They used them up to France and then after France in partisan duties. I had to look it up because I'm not super familiar with them. But I don't have any of these. God, the cough is just crazy. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Czech 38s. And he said these are a 1/76 scale, so they're a little smaller than the other ones. No biggie. I mix and match in between them. And I've actually painted 3 or 4 of these, and they've turned out really, really well. So it's a good looking little tank. And we got our Panzer Gray down. We got our Panzer Gray down. How we do that? I've been really happy with the mix that I've been using for that. All right, and then in the other one, let's put this away correctly so we don't have a spillage issue. Yeah, he apparently 3D prints, and I'm like, I won't be doing any. I like 3D printed stuff, but I don't need to. That's just another hobby within itself. I've got no business getting involved in that. That seems like it's frustration junction right there for me. We'll let the pros handle that stuff. I got enough stuff to work on even without 3D printing more. Okay, and the other little box here. All the reason I say those are 1/76 because he told me. I freely mix both of them and it doesn't bother me one bit. Okay, in this one we have. We'll get to this. We'll get to this in just a moment. Some German half-track modified things. So here is a SDKFZ 252, which is the ammunition carrier. They used them in like Sturm Pioneers and Stug groups and things like that. It's just a fully enclosed 250 half-track with carries ammo. And a bunch of German half-tracks that are all 251D variants. This one's an ambulance. Nice looking vehicle. I got a couple of ambulance trucks to paint, but not an ambulance half-track. And he said he made these himself, so. We have a mortar, which I believe is a 251-2. I could be wrong. Got an MG42 in there in the bottom. Really nice detail on that 42. It's even got the little pinto mount for it where it would fit back here. I don't have one of those. I don't have a German half track with a mortar on it. This is a 251. Oh, what do we have down here? Here's the pinto mount is down there. The one for the front. 251. Another 251. He said here's one of the things on the front. Yeah, this is just sits up here like so. Let's see what he's got on here. He says he's got an engineering one here with a little bridge, which is the 7, and the squeeze bore. This is the 28 millimeter squeeze bore. See if we can put that on there. And then it's got the little supports here for the bridge. Goes something like this. The radio version, which I want to believe it. I want to say it's the 6. And then the Sturm, which is the 9. It has the short 75 in it. So good stuff in there, plus the extra little pieces that go with all of them, and a 231 SDKFZ 231 armored car, and this one will be Africa Corps because I've got enough of it. I should consider taking one of my other ones and changing it into Africa Corps. So there's no point in doing that. I'll just make this one Africa Corps. So of all these things in here, this will probably be the thing that's painted before any of the other ones. He's also got some Panzer I turrets here. There's a Panzer I turret. I don't know if this was just a grab bag thing that he had, but there's some equipment. Looks like a loose rifle or something like that. That's cool. Gun crews look really nice. They even have the straps that are on their rifles. So good stuff in here. Guy sitting down with an MP40. Good stuff. And it's all for Europe. I've got one Africa Corps half track, and that's enough. They really didn't use the 251 series in North Africa at all. It was pretty uncommon. And the other little thing he brought also was this one particular manufacturer. It's only available in Spain. Actually, so it included some figures by them that he actually painted himself. Let's see how they made it.